Throughout our educational career, we've all been acquainted with the traditional grading system. In high school, we were graded based on A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. A being the most rewarding grade. A quotation by Alfie Kohn, who has written 12 books and has been noted in Time magazine, states, "The more people are rewarded for doing something, the more they tend to lose interest in whatever they have to do to get that reward." So assume that a student is given a homework assignment and then is told that they are going to be graded on this homework assignment. They are more inclined to see this as a chore in order to get the reward, which in this case is an A. So this leads me to my proposition, which is traditional high school grading techniques hinder students' learning habits. My supporting claims are: grades tend to reduce students' preference for challenging tasks and encourage cheating. Grades tend to reduce the quality of students' learning. And finally, grades demote students' relationships with each other. My first supporting claim: grades tend to reduce students' preference for challenging tasks and encourage cheating. In high school, we were told by our parents, counselors, and teachers that if we get good grades, then we will be accepted into a prestigious college. And if we graduate from that college, then we will be basically successful. So this puts a lot of pressure on students to get good grades. Another quotation by Alfie Kohn states, "Students who cut corners may not be lazy as much as rational, adapting to an environment where good grades, not intellectual explanations, are what count." So, in response to the pressure to get good grades, students are more willing to take corners and, instead of taking challenging tasks, take the easier ones and sometimes even cheat. It's gotten so bad that Maura Casey, who stated in Time magazine that by the mid-1990s, only a small minority said that they had never cheated, meaning that cheating has become part of the acceptable status quo. Because of the pressure that traditional grading system is putting on students, they feel that it's not wrong to cheat and to cut corners, that it's only adapting to the traditional grading system, which in this case, students are trying to get that A. My second supporting claim is grades tend to reduce the quality of students' learning. Given that students may lose interest in whatever they're learning in response to the pressure to get good grades, students are less actively using intrinsic motivation. Now, intrinsic motivated students are students that work on academic tasks because they find them enjoyable and interesting. Being ex-high school students, you all have had homework assignments, tests, exams, and most of the times you probably weren't interested in it. So you delayed, and waited until the last minute until you actually worked on it. This is considered cramming. In cramming, a period of neglect of study followed by concentrated versus studying immediately before an exam. Shelby H. McIntyre and Jay Munson, who wrote in the Journal of Marketing Education, state, "One overwhelming point drawn from research about study strategy is that distributing a given amount of time over several sessions generally leads to better memory of information than a mass or single study session for the same time." So these students who are cramming, they're not benefiting from the statement that Shelby McIntyre and Jay Munson stated. By cramming the last minute, they may be knowing the knowledge for the short term, but in the long term, these students will not retain the knowledge, so therefore it hinders their learning habits. Another quote by Shelby McIntyre and Jay Munson is that one cause of cramming is procrastination, which was found to be widespread and affects 50 to 90% of undergraduate students. So just like cheating, cramming is becoming more and more popular within high school students, and it's actually causing undergraduate students who are in college, to be affected by this. My third and final claim is grades demote students' relationships with each other. Now, the grading system grades students based on GPA, and it ranks them by that too. So the traditional grading system is teaching students that they are competing against their fellow students to get high marks, which will therefore bring them up in the ranks and make them look more presentable to colleges. Another quotation, or one specific way of grading that really separates students and makes them compete against each other is grading on a curve. A quotation by Alfie Kahn states, "The most destructive grading by far is done on a curve. Artificially limiting the number of top grades, no matter how well all the students do, not all can get an A." So this is hindering students' learning habits because they don't get the opportunity to work collaboratively because they're too busy worrying about competing against each other. And as stated by Anuradha Gokhale, who wrote in the Journal of Technology Education, the proponents of collaborative learning claim that the active exchange of ideas within small groups not only increases interest among the participants, but also promotes critical thinking. So these students are missing out on the great opportunity of collaborative learning to benefit their knowledge and become more knowledgeable. To get an idea how much collaborative learning helps is Anuradha Gokhale goes into talking about a study she took. The study was 48 subjects, 40 male, 8 female, took a critical thinking test, and they were split up into groups and individuals. The results of this are as follows. After conducting a statistical analysis on the test scores, it was found that students who participated in collaborative learning had performed significantly better than students who worked individually. So it's obvious from this that students who work collaboratively gain more knowledge than students who work individually, and this is brought on by the traditional grading system, so this therefore hinders students' learning habits. So I believe that traditional high school grading techniques hinder students' learning habits because 1, grades tend to reduce students' preference for challenging tasks and encourage cheating. 2, grades tend to reduce the quality of students' learning. And 3, and finally, grades demote students' relationships with each other. Thank you.
All right, delivery and organization are very good, and I think you explain concepts pretty well. The proof on some of these points is very dependent upon kind of ambiguous quotes from authorities that sometimes seem to fit into your parameters on grading, and sometimes I'm not sure that they have much to do with that. For instance, I'm not exactly sure that cramming is connected to a grading procedure, and I'm not sure why collaborative learning is automatically antithetical to the grading procedure, or grading procedures are antithetical to collaborative learning, except for the one spot where you talk about learning on a curve. Now, I understand the general principle there, and I thought it was explained well by your authority, but we don't have any support for that past that authority's opinion on this. We should be able to see some trends on this or some statistical information that shows that that is in fact the case, and I thought that that was a little bit thin. So I thought that you had good information from the testimony of authorities as far as it went on their opinions, but what was missing is particulars and statistics and examples that would illustrate that those authorities were correct in the first place. If we're willing to put all of our trust in them, then I guess the argument will be convincing. If anybody has experience that seems to be different from that, then I think that you needed a little bit more information to show why your position is generalizable. I thought you did a very nice job speaking to the audience and explaining all of those ideas as well. All right, thank you.